This is getting ridiculous now. I don't know if any of you have ever heard the saying, inaction is in itself an action, but the inaction from the club, the radio silence every week, despite these results, is genuinely getting to a point where it's starting to damage the trajectory of the club. A few videos back, I said that I wouldn't make videos every week campaigning for Eddie Howe's head. Obviously, I was going to continue to, explain my thoughts and be honest about his shortcomings after games. But in terms of actually making videos pushing for him to be gone now, I was kind of taking the approach of sort of put up and shut up and just support the team and hope to be proven wrong. That's where I was at. But that's because I thought if things got really bad, then I thought action would be taken. Obviously, silly me for thinking that Project 2030 PIF wouldn't put up with relegation form for long. And don't get me wrong, I'm under no illusion that the PIF or David Hopkinson are going to see this video. But regardless, I still can't just put up and shut up anymore, because this inaction is becoming very damaging for any little chance we had of achieving that 2030 goal. I fully understand it was a pretty unrealistic goal anyway, but they set the goal, not me, not the fans, they did. That's the expectation that they delivered, and I don't expect to reach that 2030 goal, but I at least expect them to be trying to deliver on the promises that they've made. I at least expect them to be making moves as if they're trying. And if we carry on like this, there's absolutely fucking no hope. Now, before I get into the reasons why it's damaging the club, I just want to say a massive thank you to Brian, True Geordie, for the shout out on his last video.
Shout out to a kid called The Noise who made a video the other day, because I've been thinking this as well. The last pattern of play that we remember in this side is when Mickey Almiron, that's how far back we're going, would pass it to Kieran Trippier, who would dink it into the box, as Almiron would run into the box and latch onto the ball, and sometimes we get a goal scoring opportunity out of it. That is it. There are no repeatable patterns of play.
That helped me gain a few more subscribers. And to be honest, it's pretty surreal for me having the audience that I have, having only started this channel just over a year ago. When I started, I genuinely thought at this point, I might have maybe, 1,000 people that might listen to me. To be creeping my way up to 10K now and having veterans of the game like Brian even listening to my content is just something I never really expected. So a massive thank you to just everyone, to be honest, who's supported the channel and helped it grow and helped it get to this point where I have this audience. Now, let's get into the inaction and how it's damaging the club going forwards. So I'm going to start with this video that I took at the game, at the end of the game. Actually, I lied. I didn't take the video. It was my mate who was sat next to me, because I wanted a clip of it, and I was said to my mate that I was going to get a video of the reaction at the end of the game, and then someone started talking to me, so he got the video for me instead. So I know if he's watching, he's going to be like, you fucking liar, you didn't take the video. So yeah, I'm going to start with this clip that my mate who was sat next to me took at the game for me. Now, I said last week, the longer this goes on with Eddie, the more toxic it's going to get. A lot of people have been saying now for a long time that it's the online fans or post-takeover fans. Those are the ones that are venting frustrations and, coming out with negativity and all that kind of stuff. And everyone else that goes to the stadium is all really positive, cheering on Eddie Howe. And that's just not the case. I'm telling you now, I walked up to the stadium and multiple times from multiple groups of people, I heard the words uttered, I kind of hope we lose today so that Eddie Howe's gone. At this point, I think it's almost certainly the minority that are defending Eddie Howe now. And actually, I think I've found where they're all from. If we just look here, so I'm around Australia. If we just go just off the coast here and we just start to zoom in, found a place called Lord Howe Island. I think that might be where they're all from, because I can't understand it anymore. And I think that's the only explanation. So yeah, other than the residents of Lord Howe Island, I don't think there's many people left at this point defending Eddie Howe. At least not within the stadium anyway. As I said, it's definitely not an online minority. It is the majority even within the stadium. And this is where it starts to become damaging going forwards, because there are 5 weeks left until the end of the season and 8 weeks left until the transfer window opens. And I don't think it comes as particularly a shock to anyone watching this video that this summer is going to be a very busy transfer window, ingoings and outgoings at Newcastle. But put yourself in the mind of a player that we are approaching currently. Agent comes to him, a few Premier League clubs are interested in signing you. One of them's Newcastle. What's your thoughts on that one? Haven't they just finished with relegation level form, their last 10 or so games have been like relegation level form. Also, I'm pretty sure they were getting booed off by their fans in like every game, weren't they? I think I'll pass on that one. I'm not going to lie. And then that's not even mentioning all the comments on like that Johan Martinez guy that we've just signed, the Ecuadorian kid. All the comments from Newcastle fans, so from our own fans, saying, you've made the wrong decision, mate. They're all saying Eddie's going to probably ship him out on loan to a club that probably won't benefit him in the slightest, and then he'll bring him back and likely sell him to satisfy PSR so we can go and sign more 50 million or so pound Premier League proven players. So that's obviously potential incomings. The way that this season is going now, keeping Eddie Howe for longer is definitely going to affect what we can bring into the club going forward. And all of that for the incomings doesn't even take into account the fact that the way that we're playing at the moment, we aren't going to win another game for the rest of the season. So currently we're 14th. We could potentially finish lower than that. That's going to be hard to attract players again, at least with the Premier League being as tight as it is. If a change is made now and it does spark some kind of new manager bounce or just anything, just something being changed to at least get us, 2 or 3 wins out of the last 5 games, that might actually put us in a position where we can at least be like, oh, we had a bit of an off season, but next season it's going to be hard to convince someone that it was just a bit of an off season when you're down in fucking 15th, 16th and haven't won a game in your last 10. So that obviously covers us being an absolute repellent to any potential incoming players. Outgoings are likely also going to be largely affected. It already seems like Gordon's out the door from Eddie's comments, and then obviously not including him in the squad. Which, by the way, on a quick side note, I have a thought on this whole Anthony Gordon thing. So he's obviously been heavily linked to Bayern. Now, Bayern have class players all around the pitch and some class wingers, and they generally don't go signing shit players, especially not obviously playing the way they are at the moment, where they look like one of the best teams in the Champions League this year. So for them to be interested in signing a winger with only 2 assists this season seems a little strange, does it not? I don't know how I'd go about trying to research this. If anyone can somehow research this, please let me know in the comments. But I don't think Bayern will have ever, especially from the Premier League where you have to pay a premium, I don't think Bayern will have ever gone after a 2 assist a season winger. Just for reference, I'm going to look at their current 2 wingers that are both from the Premier League, both came from the Premier League, just as a reference, because obviously, as I said, there's a premium on Premier League players. So to go for one of them premium price players, 2 assists a season, as I said, seems very strange. Luis Diaz, in his last season before he moved to Bayern, had 13 goals, 5 assists. And Michael Olise, bearing in mind he spent the majority of that season injured, only played 19 games, had 10 goals, 6 assists. So something there really doesn't sort of add up about them going for Anthony Gordon with his 2 assists. The only explanation to that for me is that they don't really think that it's necessarily Anthony Gordon's fault. Don't get me wrong, this isn't me defending Anthony Gordon because his attitude has absolutely fucking stank. But it seems to me as if the decision makers at Bayern, if this rumour is to be true, it seems to me to be a case of they think that in a better system, Gordon is actually a good player. Because otherwise, why the fuck would they go for him? 2 assists a season, if that's your level, you're not capable of playing for Bayern. To be honest, it's a pretty fair conclusion to jump to, because if you take into account the fact that the scouts or the decision makers or whatever at Bayern, they will have also been watching the way that Voltemada's been managed this season. They obviously didn't take too well to the fact that Voltemada chose to come to Newcastle instead of going to Bayern. They'd lined him up to take over from Harry Kane. They were trying to bring him to Bayern when he came to us, and they've watched us just absolutely kill any excitement about this promising young player within a year. And I can imagine they've had a pretty keen eye on just how horrifically it's been going. So I think it's pretty fair to assume, with the obviously judgment that they'll have made on our handling of Voltemada, it's pretty fair to assume that the decision makers at Bayern are likely thinking Eddie Howe doesn't have a fucking clue how to get the best out of these players, and our manager is going to do a better job. But that's obviously if any of these rumours about Gordon to Bayern are true. It could all just be paper talk. We definitely can't rule that out because there is a lot of shit that gets put out there. But if more comes of that, if Bayern do start to step up that pursuit of Anthony Gordon, that's a pretty damning assessment of Eddie Howe, in my opinion. But anyway, back to how the inaction is damaging for the club at the moment. So, outgoings. Gordon, obviously, as I've mentioned, is already looking very much like he's on his way. And I think with every loss that we have between now and the end of the season, which realistically is probably going to be the next 2, could be, if nothing changes, could be the next 5. And at that point, if we do lose, or at least don't win the next 5, we'll be going into the transfer window having lost or not won in the last 9. And how can you expect players to put trust in their manager when they haven't won in their last 9 games? And the worst part of it all being that nothing is changing. It's still the same thing every week. Like, I'm going to go back to another saying here. And I think I got this one. I think I first heard this on Far Cry, I think it was.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy. The first time somebody told me that, I don't know, I thought they were bullshitting me, so boom, I shot them. The thing is, okay, he was right.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That at the moment seems like Eddie Howe's managerial philosophy. How can you expect any of our players to want to stick around and put trust in that for the following season? And that's not to mention they probably likely don't appreciate being booed off the pitch every week. They deserve it, but they probably don't realistically want to stick around for that. And I think the longer this goes on, because this is how it's going to be for the rest of the season if we stick with Eddie Howe, the longer this goes on for the next 5 games, I can see it potentially turning some more heads and them also wanting to go as well, just to get away from the stale system and toxic atmosphere. I've said it a few times now. I think it's pretty simple. You just announce now that Eddie Howe will be leaving at the end of the season. Put Graham Jones or something in charge for now. At least then, we as fans, the players, everyone knows that there will be change coming. And then, as I said, maybe then the fans can start to get a bit more of a celebratory atmosphere behind Eddie Howe, a bit more supportive of the team, as opposed to what is just turning into like a horrible, toxic atmosphere where, as I said, I heard it multiple times on the way up to the stadium, our fans want us to lose to have him gone. How do you ever expect that to turn into success at a club? And to be honest, I don't even blame them for thinking that, because realistically, all they have is just a longer term vision in mind than the short term vision of wanting to win that one game that realistically we all know none of these games currently mean absolutely fuck all. Our season is over. But them not doing anything at the moment, what it does is the frustration it creates for me, and I'm not sure if this is the same for everyone, the frustration it creates for me is the pure fear of the possibility that, as I said, there's only 5 weeks left till the end of the season, 8 weeks left until the transfer window. Every single loss, every single week that we get closer to the transfer window, it's closer to the actual reality that Eddie Howe is going to be the one navigating us through that next transfer window. And True Geordie said it in his video, and it's something that's been floating around from Bournemouth fans. Bournemouth fans have been trying to tell us this for a long time. The more money Eddie Howe spent, the worse we got. If we get worse than this season, we're getting fucking relegated. But to be honest, it's not even the fear of getting relegated. It's the fear with PSR of wasting another 200 million. Like, we've done it this season. We might be able to recover. We might be able to. It's a big ask, but we might be able to recover. If we blow away another 200 million with the PSR constraints that we have, that's it. Fucked. There's absolutely no chance of us achieving anything in the near future, because we will have blown the one opportunity we had at investment and we'll have blown it up the fucking wall. That for me is the most frustrating thing, because right now, it seems like the likely thing is that Eddie Howe is probably already working on potential transfers for the summer. I want some kind of communication from the club to know that it isn't going to be him. And I think saying that he's going to be leaving this summer, the club coming out and saying that, would be the most concrete confirmation that he isn't going to be dealing with the transfers this summer, because he's not going to be there. Anyway, before I finish up, can someone please explain to me the difference between these two clips?
Careful.
Why did you do that?
They are confirming that this is a red card for Fabian Schär.
The good old days when we used to beat newly promoted teams with 10 men as well. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe and help the channel to continue growing. And thank you for watching. That's all the noise for this one. Until the next one.